Hi and welcome to Simply Ballers 2024-2025 season previews. It's that time of the year where for the next 30 days I'll be releasing a season preview for each team. In each preview there will be a quick season and off-season recap. Then following that we'll be looking at what's in store for each team. We'll be looking at some of the key questions that they have, some of the positives, some of the negatives. It will be digging deeper in some of those areas. And at the end there are some final thoughts with prediction of the standings, their floor, their ceiling, some of the playoff chances, and some other fun predictions. So today we're going through the Los Angeles Lakers, and their season was something. They went from conference finals to a first round this year. This was a disappointing year for them, and without even looking at the final results, it was disappointing from what happened last year. They had a turnaround last year post All-Star break. They look really good. Some of the stats, especially defensively, was at the top of the league, and I was quite high because of it. And yet they got 76 games from Anthony Davis, they got 71 games from LeBron James, 76 from Russell, 82 games from Austin Reeves. That's all your top players playing so many games, and you're likely not going to get so much more from that going forward. And with all of that, they were still 8th in the West and had to go through the play-in again. And this time they didn't get the right matchups. They got the same opponent they couldn't beat last year, and that's how you end up going from a conference finals to a first round exit. So maybe health wasn't an issue for them, because you might think so considering last year where they were in a similar place, where Davis played 56 games, James played 55, plus there were all of the trades happening as well. That kind of ruined the chemistry, kind of had to figure out on the go. So there were reasons why you could talk yourself into believing in the Lakers from last year. On top of that, they made the conference finals. They had one of the closest series against Denver. So you could talk yourself into believing in the Lakers. And last year, some of the stats were they were plus 18 net with both James and Davis on, though it was a really small sample of 223 minutes. That changed a lot. This year, in 1,726 minutes with both on, they were just plus 4 with a 120 rating. Add Reeves to that, it dropped to plus 1.6 with a slightly better offense at 120.4. A lot of it is going to continue. I don't see a big change in that because they did have health, and that's the biggest question mark. Because if you have all of your guys playing that you didn't have last year and you got worse, where is the issue? A lot of it came down on the defense. I wonder whether they could have been a top 5 defense last year. They were 16th this year. Even with Davis on, they weren't much better at 115.6, which would have ranked 14th. One of the biggest questions was about James and his potential decline. Well, he also answered that, where he was more efficient this year, and they were still worse. He got better. He had the highest true shooting percentage since 2014. His rim pressure was just as the same, and they were still 8th in the West. Their offseason was a bunch of nothing in terms of just player movement. They did draft Dalton Knecht and Bronny James. They hired JJ Redick, so maybe the coaching will change this whole team around. But when it comes to just big, significant moves that could make a difference player-wise, that hasn't happened. So right now, their offseason was a disappointment too, and it doesn't really make me feel optimistic about them going forward. So what's in store for the Lakers this year? When is the year that we will finally see LeBron James decline? That will have to happen. At some point, he can't keep getting better. He can't keep getting bounce back seasons, because that's what's been happening, and I'm not sure when the drop off even will happen. Is there a drop off coming, or is it just going to be a sudden decline in some areas, but then also getting better in the others? Will Davis continue his elite play on both ends of the floor and remain healthy? Can they at least be average defensively? Do they have enough depth at the wings and pick Big's position? How much more can Austin Reeves improve? Can they also be healthy beyond their best players? Because we've seen the health issue with Gabe Vincent, Christian Wood, Jared Vanderbilt. They already had issues health-wise, so can that bounce back? Which role players can be relied on consistently on both ends of the floor? What moves can Pelinka even make right now? What moves are there for them to get better, to get into that tier of contenders? Will or should they explore trading D'Angelo Russell? How much of a change will Redick bring to the offense and the defense? Is this the year for them to go for it? Is this the year before they make potentially drastic moves when it comes to LeBron, when it comes to everyone else? So the first thing is, can LeBron James keep whatever he's doing? Because it's still one of the best. Even compared to his standards, he's still not showing significant declines in anything. You think you see some declines at some stretches in the season, in some of the seasons as well, and then you think that's going to continue, but then he just has a bounce back season like this year. Looking at some of the stats compared to his recent past bubble, there were signs of declines. Like the rim pressure went down, and then he just made a change this year, and he looked the same. This year he shot 73% at the rim with 43% of his shots there. That frequency is the highest since 2018. His free throw rate's also the highest since 2019. The Lakers offense was 120 with him, and that dropped to 111 without him. That's the best on offense since 2018. So he's again having that same kind of impact as he usually has done in his prime. He ranked 7th in estimated plus minus at plus 5.9, which by his standard is one of the lowest, but compared to everyone else, it's still above almost everyone else. One thing that did pop up was his drop in usage. The usage reached sub 30% for the first time since his second season. His tracking stats are also down, or the lowest since 2014. His touches per 75 and total offensive load were the lowest, but they are only low compared to him. His 49% total offensive load is the lowest for him, but that's still ranked 10th in the league. That's when we have to think about LeBron, where compared to himself, there will be declines, there will be drop-offs, but those drop-offs will still be elite in the 99th percentile compared to everyone else. But can he keep that up? Can he just do what he does, do his job, and continue with this level of play? Right now, I'm just going to assume yes, because he has given me not a single thing to doubt him. Even if we see a slight drop-off, I'm not going to doubt that he's not going to bounce back in the playoffs. That's just how it is right now. He has defied every single part of logic. He doesn't make sense, and that's why I'm just going to think this season is going to be the same for him. That might be a different story for Anthony Davis, where he played the most games in his career. Not only that, he also played the most minutes in his since 2018 when he was 24. He's going to be around going into his 30s. I don't see that happen again. He also just went through the Olympics. I don't trust him playing that many games. I don't trust him playing at that level, at that minutes for the whole year. When it comes to his on-court play, we know what we get from him. After the 2 seasons in 2021 and 2022 struggling with efficiency, this was one of his best. You can see here he had one of the best offensive seasons in a while. You can see that this kind of drop-offs he had in his 2-3 years, bounced back last year, again had a bit of a drop-off this year, but we know what we're getting from him. He's an efficient guy at the rim. He will create good, easy shots as a roller. He's a good passer. He will just do his job offensively. And then when it comes to his defense, that has been a bit of a question mark, because again, you can see him having one of the lowest impacts, but that just doesn't match some of the eye tests, because I still consider him being a top 3 defender in basketball. But then when you look at some of the Lakers defense with him, there was a bit of a drop-off this year. In 2024, the defense with him was 115.6 versus 116.6 without him. In 2023, it was 111.8 versus 117. 2022, it was 111 versus 116. So there is a drop-off in terms of the defense with him and the defense without him. So the on-off splits are lower. The defense isn't as elite with him. And I wonder what that even is about, because he's a top 3 defender. By any metrics, you'll see the rim protection with him switching out, with the rebounding, he's as elite as always, and yet that hasn't translated to good defense. So that's going to be one of the biggest questions for him and the Lakers. Can they have a top 10 defense? That's been a way of winning since 2020, where they had the fourth best defense. Even in 2021, where they had the second best defense, and then even last year, where they made a turnaround, their season came because of the defense. They had the best defense, I think, post All-Star break. So that's when they made that run. So the biggest question now will just be, can they bounce back to that? And that starts with Anthony Davis. That also relates to just the team around them. Will they have a solid rotation of wings and bigs that could probably stay healthy? Last year it was just Anthony Davis and Jackson Hayes as the bigs because Wood was injured. Vanderbilt was injured. Will those coming back, and maybe Rui Hachimura as well? Will those three additions be enough in the front court? The Lakers were 27th in opponent rim percentage with 68.2%, but they were 7th in frequency allowed. I also wonder what the team is beyond James and Davis, because they do have the top end talent. Whatever declines they will have, whatever the defense from Davis is that hasn't translated, they still have the top two players in basketball. Who's going to be their third player that could consistently perform on both ends of the floor? Because right now the only guy that comes close is Austin Reeves. He himself had a great season, averaging 17 points, 5 rebounds and 6 assists per 75 possession on 57% effective field goal, 61% true shooting with a 20% usage. And before you say that this was probably all created for him, that he just took advantage of playing with LeBron James, only 41% of his twos are assisted, only 67% of his threes are assisted. And when you take James off the court, he averaged 21 points on 58% effective field goal with 62% true shooting with 23% usage. His assisted twos without James dropped again to 29%. His efficiency around the rim and the paint is just as impressive. He shot 66% at the rim and 50% within 4 to 14 feet. That's all without James. He's doing all that rim pressure, all that scoring in the paint without him. Take away Russell too, so you can just see him as the only ball handler. His assisted shots go even down, and he still has 60% true shooting. And he also gives you 7 assists per 75 possession. So even without James, even without D'Angelo Russell, he was up to the standard when it comes to offensively as a scorer or as a playmaker. And here's a fun stat. He averaged 1.05 points per possession on 5.2 possessions as a ball handler in the pick and roll. He shot 52% from the floor and had a 59% effective field goal. That ranked in a 90th percentile. He doubled his volume from last year, where he only averaged 2.8 possessions, and he sustained the efficiency. That's the most impressive part, that he just took on a lot more responsibility and was just as good. But that's just him as a scorer. I do wonder if he will look better as a passer, because some of the stats for him are just average. You can see here at the end, playmaking talent was C+ last year and C- this year. It's okay. Like the B pluses did have a drop, I think, passing creation quality. The volume is there, the passing is there. It's just not at the level that is good enough for as a third best player. So where is his growth coming to happen next? Is this the pass? Is it the defense? All I know is that he is the likeliest player that could step up as the third best player on this team. But then beyond that, who else is there? Who else can they rely on consistently to give them something on either end? Who else can they rely on just consistently be healthy? Is it Rui Hachimura? Is it Cam Reddish? Is it Christian Wood? There's also D'Angelo Russell, who shot 41% on over 10 threes per 100 possession. He has been above average efficiency when it comes to true shooting for 2 years now in a row. That's good for them. He's one of the better answers to when it comes to just who can step up the most. But I wonder just if they should still explore what they could get for him. At the same time, though, they have been successful with him. Some of the lineup stats: Reeves, James, and Davis, no Russell. They were minus 2.1 in 530 minutes with a 121 offensive rating. Russell, James, Davis with no Reeves were plus 8 in 360 minutes, but their offense did drop a lot to 115. Russell on, Reeves off. They were plus 6.9 in over 1,000 minutes with a 119 offensive rating. Reeves on, no Russell. They were minus 2 in over 1,000 minutes with a 114 offensive rating. With Reeves and Russell on, they were neutral. with a 119 offensive rating. So there are some conflicting data that show that they do so much better with Russell than Reeves. When it comes to both of them on, they do well offensively, but their defense is what lacks. And that's where I can see Redick being an X factor here. He could change up so much on both ends of the floor that could maximize each lineup, because he is a different kind of coach, I think, with the way he's been talking on these podcasts, with just seeing what his approach is, what his philosophy is. He is quite more like an analytical person as well. So there will be so many questions when it comes to Redick and the kind of offense he can create, whether the defensive stuff as well. Coaching matters, and that's why he can potentially swing a lot here, because there is talent on both ends of the floor. So this is the part where someone like JJ can make a big difference. So his approach and how he goes about handling his first season as a first-year coach will be one of the most important questions for them going forward this year. It could be a successful season, or it could be a disaster like we've seen with Steve Nash. Related to a non-player question marks, will Rob Pelinka do something? Are the Lakers done making moves? Because what moves can they even make? Right now they need to do something. It's tough to argue against that when they were a playing team 2 years in a row with their best players playing. It's tough to argue that they shouldn't make any moves when I just don't see them competing at good enough level against the best teams. So how they will go about this season is at the deadline is definitely a must follow. Will they be reluctant, especially with James at this stage, or will they just continue to go all in? Because this could be the year to make it all work. Because there are signs, potentials that LeBron could retire at some point, and there are ways that he could still decline. If LeBron James declines, there is nothing else that they can do. So this could potentially be the single most important year for the franchise right now. So predictions, I see this as a 42-46 win team. Their floor, their worst case scenario is a lock-in for the play-in. James and Davis would have health issues, but still are good enough to sneak in. Their ceiling is a top 5 team. Their defense bounces back, with Anthony Davis potentially playing like a defensive player of the year. Reeves take a leap, and they set themselves up for a potential deep run. Last year, I was a lot higher on them because of the health issues that they faced and the potential they showed post-deadline. Maybe this is overreacting right now, but I'll hold on from being this high again. Maybe I'm overcorrecting, but I would be cautious with this team going forward. They were healthy this year. They were still bad. They were still a playing team that was below average defensively, and they still haven't addressed the issues that they couldn't survive without James. They were over -5 without him. I also don't envision them having this kind of injury luck. I don't envision them having so many players play 70 plus games. It's more likely than not that they will not see multiple players play 65 games. But at the same time, they still have James playing at elite level. Even if it's lower compared to his standards, that's still a top 10 player in the league. They still have a top 5 defender in the world. They have guards that can swing things in both Russell and Reeves. There are ways that this whole season could work. Bringing in JJ will matter a lot. That's another swing move. They have 3-4 potential swing players and coaches that could make a difference. That's why right now, though, I'm predicting a similar season that they had now, because I'm not sure where those swing moves will swing. It could go either way right now. It could happen where Reeves has a career year and Anthony Davis he wins Defensive Player of the Year and leads them to a top 5 defense. That could happen, but at the same time, they might as well just have the same kind of season. In the playoffs, though, that's when I can see them going on a deep run, regardless of what happens. Because with James and Davis, I'm still going to be banking on the top end talent, and LeBron has not given me anything to doubt him. So overall, their season will just be banking on the playoffs, staying healthy, and hopefully their swing moves will swing the right way.